My son's going to work on an intro for us.
Nice. I don't even refresh my makeup from earlier. I forgot to tell my son I was live. Dude.
Are you sending me a link?
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to find
Okay.
you.
It's fine.
There we go. I sent it to you. Okay. That works for me.
Well, hello, Holly.
Hello, Beth. Hi, everybody. Whoever's watching,
Hi,
thank you
everybody.
for joining us tonight. We're gonna do a short episode tonight, probably just a half an hour's worth, because we kind of got things going on in our personal life that we need to take care of, and it's just that kind of night. Got a new, very brand new computer, and it doesn't want to
Hi,
work properly
Kirsty.
for me. So
Yeah,
I
I don't
gotta
know
figure this
why
out.
you're having such a problem with your
I
computer.
don't know. It won't let me put the pictures up that I just saved on it, so I have no idea where those went. Yeah. So fun night. So I
Oh, you
don't
know
have
what? I
pictures
don't.
right now. And then it keeps freezing, so I have no idea. Hopefully you guys don't get frozen. Um
So before we start tonight, I thought it might be a good idea maybe if we just kind of did a little recap of what we've done like the last 6 months. I didn't throw this by you, sorry.
that's okay. Go ahead.
Surprise. No, I just thought maybe, if there's some new faces on here, maybe they'd like to know some things that we have covered. I don't mean go into them, but just I think recently we did John Wayne Gacy. We talked about him. What else have we done? Oh, we've done the nursery rhymes also.
Yep.
Right.
We did Muffin Man, Jack and Jill,
Three Blind
um,
Mice, right?
Three Blind Mice.
We did Hansel and Gretel.
We started with Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary. Yep.
So Mary Mary Quite Contrary was the nursery rhyme.
Right.
So Queen Mary. She goes by so many different
What else?
names. We
I
did
know.
that. Who was that lady last week?
Oh,
Or last
Dryer.
Dryer. Yeah,
Amelia.
Amelia Dryer. H. Holmes.
Yes. We did H. Holmes.
We did
I
oh
just
my
want
god,
this.
you put me on the spot and I didn't write
I
them all
know. I
down.
know. I put myself on the spot because I
Jack the
didn't know I
Ripper.
was going to say that.
Yep.
So,
Jack the Ripper. So
yes, Jack the Ripper. So we have
yeah.
covered a lot of different topics. And when we start, like February.
Yeah. Yep.
So we are obviously open to any and all ideas. So if
Yeah, if you
anybody
guys
out
want
there,
any, yeah, if you want to hear any, serial killers, anything like that, like let us know. We'll research them. Our
I've
show's only an
been
hour long, but it
I've
works.
been listening to some interesting books. I don't really have a whole lot of time to sit down and read books, but I do like to have them read to me. So when I do a lot of the paranormal traveling or just back and forth to work, I listen to different books, and most of them are morbid, not gonna lie. Like I sent you a couple
Yeah.
links of serial killers I had never even heard of. I'd not heard of that guy that I
No.
sent you, and he was horrific. It was disgusting what he had done. I got
Right.
and I read a book called Body Parts. I don't think I need to go any further with that. So, I mean, there are just a lot out there that we may not even know about that I would love to research and know more
Right.
about.
Right.
So, all right,
Yeah,
that's
because
all.
we try to switch it up for anybody that's new watching. Our show is about nursery rhymes, fairy tales, and serial killers because they all intertwine with each other. Surprisingly, nursery rhymes and fairy tales have a twisted dark side. So, um, and they usually come from some kind of folklore um, from many, 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 many moons ago. And it's just, like a folklore just tells a story after story after story, but it usually came from something horrific happened in the past that people talk about, and then it just turns into a story, you know, or a nursery rhyme or a fairy tale of some sort, which is kind of absurd because fairy tales and nursery rhymes we say to kids all the time. So
Exactly. What is he talking about?
I have no,
Okay.
probably because I mentioned not having makeup on or something.
Sorry,
I
Ace,
don't
I'm not
know.
sure what to say because I don't really
He's
know.
been silly all afternoon. So
Mm.
yeah, sometimes I just don't know.
I'm sure he'll elaborate. So
I mean, which
tonight
Elvis
we
Presley are we talking about? The early Elvis Presley where he's hot and cute, or the old Elvis Presley where he turned fat and, I mean, he was still kind of good looking, but he was still,
or maybe it's the Elvis Presley that's not dead, just saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think he's dead.
Mm.
I mean, that would be. I mean, he could be dead. Elvis
Probably
has
by
left the
now he
building, but
is. Yeah.
you know,
Okay, let's get started.
I mean, Mr. Rogers wasn't that bad of a looking man either. I mean,
Have
for
you
who
seen
he
the movie
was.
with Tom Hanks? I haven't seen that
No, I've not.
either.
I want to though. Yeah.
Any new faces?
Oh.
Why do I still not get it?
Because if we want to hear anything new, some new faces to learn about, then
Ah.
that's the other thing this computer does. If I don't touch the computer, the screen, it automatically like goes into, you know, sleep
You can
mode.
change that in your settings.
I gotta figure that.
It's in your settings.
I gotta figure this out because this is gonna drive me nuts. So make sure I touch my computer in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, you just need to change your timeout.
So
Okay, so we are doing Little Red Riding Hood and Rumpelstiltskin, the Grimm's side of that.
mm-hmm.
Any comments are welcome. We appreciate them.
Yes. So
Mm.
just a little background on Little Red Riding Hood, because I'm sure we've all heard the folklore of it. Little girl is in a red cape. She's taking goodies to her sick grandma, and she has to walk through the woods. And her mother, who sent her to her grandma's house, said to stay on the path, don't deter from it. Don't do anything you're not supposed to do while you're getting to grandma's house. And hi, David. So basically, she's going down the path in the woods. She's got to go through the woods to get to grandma's house, and she runs into this sly fox or wolf. I would say fox because we were just at Auglai's and there were several foxes.
Yeah, I heard that. That was pretty cool.
It was. I mean, if I wouldn't have moved, he probably would have came up to us, and I was just terrified that he was going to claw my eyes out. So I said, no,
here's
thank
just a
you.
general search of Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah.
That shows a bunch of different versions.
Hi, Eddie Pence.
Things that we see. So these are just different versions, styles of that.
But yeah, so basically she encounters the big bad wolf.
Hey, Eddie.
And he asks her, what she's doing in the woods all by herself. And she naively said, I'm going to grandma's house. And so then she gets to grandma's house and she noticed grandma didn't look quite the same. Now, mind you, grandma's sick, so we don't all look our best when we're sick. And she said, what big eyes you have. And the wolf responded, like, all the better to see you with, and then all the better to feel you with, and all the better to, this and that. And then finally she said, you have a big mouth. And he's like, the more I can eat you with. So he jumps out of because he pretended to be grandma. He jumps out of the outfit that he was in, pretending to grandma, and tries to snatch up Little Red Riding Hood and eat her. And several different stories I've heard throughout the years of my, early childhood career is some he threw her in the closet, some he ate grandma, so different things like that. Now here's the absurd part. um, oh, you don't miss me, Eddie Pence? Thanks. Just Mrs. Ace. That's all. It's all right. Don't
Well,
forget about me and Beth.
it happens.
I know. I'm just kidding. I just like
I know.
messing with Eddie. So basically, the story is to me about kidnapping.
Well, yes, it is about a kidnapping, but it's also kind of like talking about the morals of the story kind of thing, because usually the fairy tales always have some kind of a moral of the story. So with and there are different versions of what the moral of the story would be. So with this, a lot of the moral that I've read on is talking about how, she was very, very naive. Basically didn't have a whole lot of common sense. She was sent out into the woods by herself alone. Now, her mother did tell her she was to go straight to grandmother's house. However, she veered off of her path and wandered and collected other items in the woods.
Yep.
And in versions that I have seen, the wolf approaches her in the woods and tries to have a conversation. She's all about it. She talks to him, which, stranger danger, we've learned as we get older, that we're not supposed to do that.
And it's funny you mentioned the stranger danger, and I had a aha moment when I was actually a preschool teacher, and it's like, so we always talk to kids, don't talk to strangers, don't go in cars with strangers, don't do this with strangers, if they approach you. Even now, today, there's so much like kidnappings and whatnot, human trafficking and all that stuff, with strangers. And it's like, my aha moment was, but we talk to strangers all the time as adults. Like, we tell our kids not to do it, but we talk to the person in front of us when we're standing in line at the grocery store because it's taken an hour to get through the line. Like, we talk to the people at the library, hey, have you ever read this book? And they're like, oh, yeah, it's a great book. So we're constantly talking to people we don't know, yet we tell our kids the opposite. So
And
you're giving them mixed messages on the stranger danger stuff.
I don't disagree with that in another context. A lot of your statistics, if you look into things like this, as far as molestation, things along those lines, it's usually happening inside inside of the family. Right. So it doesn't even necessarily have to be a stranger. I actually just got done reading a book that had several different serial killers in it. And they were just small interviews of different serial killers. And one serial killer that was molesting young children had made the comment that he was a family friend. They gave him the password without even knowing that they had given him the password.
Right.
Because, then we teach them it's okay if you talk to them if we give you a code word. Right. Like the code word's pancake. If they come up to you and they say pancake, it's okay to get in their car and do whatever you want. And he said he used that to his advantage on 2 different child abductions because they're just freely talking in front of somebody they think is a family. Yeah, a trusted person. And he ended up using that against and murdered 2 children.
Yeah, that's horrible.
It's awful. And this kind of goes along with Little Red Riding Hood. It's not much different than that, really. I mean, she's left alone. I mean, nowadays we wouldn't send our kids out in the woods to go anywhere, let alone to grandma's house, so and it talks about how, the approach of Strange Men, where the wolf represents, I mean, I'm not being stereotyping or judgmental. You have to remember that these stories were back in the 1600s, if not longer
Yeah.
than that. And, morals and values were different then than they are now.
Right. Right. And these
So
stories, the Brothers Grimm stories, they took them from folklore. So, and folklore started with for adults, they weren't meant for children to actually hear the stories. But the Brother Grimm, they took it and gave it a twist, and then other authors and other writers started taking their stories and trying to make them nicer and happier, and that's how the nursery rhymes, and fairy tales started, for children. It's like down the line, and of course it changed. The stories change throughout time, but the moral is always the same.
right. So once she's approached by the wolf in the woods, because she is lacking common sense, technically, she does tell them, hey, going to grandma's, dropping off stuff. She's sick. And this is how now she's put grandma in danger of being hurt because she's not followed the original direction, which was go straight there, don't go off the path, do what you're supposed to do. So, I mean, there's really a lot of different morals and values you could take out of this, especially putting other people in danger.
Right.
I don't know, make sure that you're, if you are sending your children out into the woods, that they don't lack common sense. They need to be taught.
And to me, the woods represents the world. Like, teach your kids, you
Yes.
know.
Teach your kids to not be stupid. I mean that in the nicest way. I mean that in the nicest way. I mean it. Like, come on, we've seen them,
But, and it talks about other, stories along the same way, like the Three Little Bears.
Yep.
I'm just throwing this in there.
Mhm.
It's not one of our topics, but that as well is along the same way. A little girl walking along the path on her own. She's all by herself, approaches a house and sees that the door's open, walks in, doesn't see people, and the bears are like, what the heck? They find a stranger in their home, you know. So,
Right.
just keep an eye on your kids, people.
Yeah. This is a very, very twisted world we live in right
It
now.
is. And just
I mean,
like,
it's really been like this for a really long time. You just hear about it more now because we have more accessible to us now than we did.
right,
And I've mentioned that, made this comment before in other sessions or segments that we've had of the 70s and 80s were the most dangerous decades.
right.
And that's because you didn't have instant at your hands and your fingertips to get help right away.
You think
And
the 70s and 80s was more than it is now?
the deadliest decades.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It was easier for serial killers to do what they did then. That's where a lot your DNA didn't even come into play till the 90s.
that's true.
So I mean there were a lot of cold cases throughout the 70s and 80s because all they went by was blood types. And a lot of people have the same blood types. So unless you had a smoking gun sitting there when you walked in, they were able to kill. I mean, look at Ted Bundy. I mean,
Yeah, we got to do that one.
I just read a book about him too. He killed, I mean, I know that's not our topic tonight, but it goes along those lines. He got away with killing not only that, but he represented himself. And by doing
Yeah,
that, he got attorney privileges. And that's how he was able to escape one of the times he did. And he killed all those women in the dorm. I mean, it's just an
right.
unreal, the system then versus now is a lot different.
Well, I would say the system is, but
Well, they were like the hillside stranglers. They were able to get by with what they did, dumping bodies off the side of the hills forever
right.
because they just don't have the same
Yeah, they didn't have the technology
technology
that,
like we do
right,
now.
right.
Yeah. So, no, serial killing is still happening. It's still going on.
We
But
actually were talking about that at work, how
it's not
Kids don't
it's
even
not going
read
on
as
as
much as they used
long.
to.
I
I'm
mean,
like,
that's how they caught the Golden State Killer, was
right.
by through ancestry.com and using DNA from his family.
See, that's why I won't go on ancestry.com. I
Yeah,
don't
I
need
mean,
them
if
to come
you
after me and say I'm a serial killer.
well, no, it's not just that. You're putting
I
your
know.
DNA out there. I mean,
I
if
know.
you don't care that your
Yeah.
DNA is a public entity, then all for you.
Yeah.
But if you really don't want your DNA out
I
there, I
mean, I'm
wouldn't
sure the
recommend
government
finding
has
out
my
your
DNA
heritage.
somewhere, but has our DNA somewhere, but yeah, I don't need all that. I'm good.
Right. So, I mean, we got way off, not really off topic. I mean, it's still part of this, but it's, it's just, yeah,
It yeah,
our world sucks sometimes.
it does. That's why I said we're cutting this short today.
Yes, so we're going to Rumpelstiltskin now, right?
Yes, yes. Yep.
Okay.
Rumpelstiltskin.
Tell us the
So
story, Holly.
this one, okay, so this one, Rumpelstiltskin was a goblin, so fairy tale folklore goblin, and he basically um told the queen that he could turn straw into gold, so that they can have riches and riches and riches of all kinds. And when for the repayment of that, he would want her firstborn child. So he gave her the power to turn straw into gold. So she was basically the I'm gonna get tongue tied here. The queen, before she became queen, was able to do this. Then the king married her, had a baby girl, and the baby girl was promised to the goblin in return for all the gold that he granted them. And the queen loved her daughter so much because she was so beautiful, most beautiful baby in the whole kingdom, and didn't want to give her up. So the Rumpelstiltskin told the queen that she had 3 times to try to guess his name, and if she guessed the name, she got to keep her child. If she was wrong all 3 times, he would take the child. Um, and it was so she tried the before the third night. She had now there's a few different versions. One version is she went into the woods, um, to try to capture the goblin, and other ones was she sent her servant. Either way, she found out his name because he was singing in the forest. Again, we're in the forest, in the woods, and he was singing away, "She'll never guess my name. It's Rumpelstiltskin, here I stay," kind of thing. And so when he came to her, asked what's my name, she said it, and he was very angry, not happy that she guessed his name because it's a very hard name. But what it means, Rumpelstiltskin, means that it's a goblin that would shake and rattle wooden posts to make loud noises. And that's what the meaning of Rumpelstiltskin is. And basically, it's like a poltergeist ghost, is what one description said. So, kind of thought that was interesting. But again, it's about kidnapping because he wanted to kidnap the baby.
So Rumpelstiltskin is thought to be about 4,000 years old. I mean, just put that into perspective for a second. 4,000 years old. That's crazy by itself. And they highlight 3 of the main characters, which is the miller's daughter, Rumpelstiltskin, and the king. They talk about how it's all about greed. And not only greed on the king's part, but greed on Rumpelstiltskin's part, because he really didn't have any reason to want the child or need the child for anything. It was just a thought. And some things that I have read have said that they kind of wonder if he really did, in fact, really want the child anyway, just because he was giving her 3 opportunities to get out of the contract. And not, I mean, he had already proven that he had all these powers. So
Yes.
he could have just snatched the baby whenever he wanted to. Instead, he made a game out of it and terrorized her and the family. And
Right.
yeah. And he actually has different names under different is global. It's a global thing. So in England, Rumpelstiltskin goes under the name of Tom Tit Tot. That's just fun to say. You know?
Say that 3 times, Tom Tit
All
Tot.
right. You talk about tongue twisters. He was wonderfully named Whoopity Story in Scotland, Gillitrut in Iceland. So, I mean, this is global. And it's
Could
all
you
about the
imagine, like,
cultural history of it.
4,000 years ago, and it was talking about goblins, which is, in our profession, in
Right,
our
like the boogeyman,
well, it's just
basically.
like our fairies and Mothman and all that stuff and falls in that.
Exactly.
I think that's kind of cool. So goblins have been around for 4,000 years. Because you gotta admit they had to come from somewhere. Someone had to see something. Unless it was like a troll. They saw a troll.
Could have been a troll, but you also have to remember, probably, I don't really know this out of experience, but 4,000 years ago, I would imagine they were probably experimenting with different kinds of things from the ground that they could eat. Is it possible that they could be hallucinating
Right.
some little goblin troll eating on posts?
Oh, look at these mushrooms
Like
today.
they're like they're hearing stuff, like
Hey, my
hallucinating.
cousin's watching. Hi, JC. Yeah, that would be funny. Look, Ma, I brought some mushrooms.
Right, exactly. And now I'm seeing goblin trolls running all over.
Who can make me weave gold?
Right.
Oh, that would be
Yes.
funny. But yeah,
But
they
back to the greed part of it, you know, a lot of it had to do with the miller's daughter too, because she did make false claims in the beginning, and she claimed, or the town claimed, that she knew how to straw gold. And so when confronted by the king because of greed, that's where she was in her predicament. And not only did he lock her in there, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't going to let her eat or come out or anything until she did.
right,
So who knows how long she would have been locked in by this older man, because we know this was probably a young village girl, you know. And then
yeah, it wasn't a young
Rumpelstiltskin
king,
just
that's for
appears and, gives her all these things. And so that's where his greed, I think his greed, Rumpelstiltskin's, was growing just as much as the king's, because one load of gold wasn't enough for the king. He needed more. So he locked her in there again to do it again. But he didn't even want to marry her until he knew she could do something for
right,
him.
right,
That's kind of disgusting to think,
right.
like, oh, well, you can make me gold. I guess you're worth marrying. I'll marry
Right.
you now.
It is gross.
It is.
And just think of how much greed is in the world today,
Yeah.
with people. I mean, that's how arranged marriages start, You gotta think it's kind of like an arranged marriage too. The Millers gave up their only daughter
In a sense. Yeah. Sold her
for
out.
what?
I'm sure they
Yeah,
got something out of it.
exactly.
It was the king.
Yeah, that's
So let's
Okay.
share some of these Rumpelstiltskin site that I have here. So these are just different images of Rumpelstiltskin, the miller's daughter, the child that in reference to, see, this one has multiple arms. So there's different.
It's funny because every picture is like I was looking at them earlier, and every one is like
Totally different.
Depicts the Rumpelstiltskin. Some are he's got no beard, some has beard, some where he's like old and gray, and then some look like he's mean, grouchy, old, young person.
Right.
So again, it reminds me of like a Puckwudgie where they can, they change forms a little bit, but they're like
Again,
that. Oh, they're little.
it probably just depends on what side of the forest you're eating from,
Right.
of what color you're seeing out
Right.
in the forest.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
but it is 7:30. Well, 7:31 now. Like I said, we're just gonna cut this one short today. We haven't picked a topic, but we're gonna be on here again, not next week, because next week is the my Paracon, so the Michigan Paracon up in the UP. And I'll be going to that. Me and Ace are going, so kind of excited about that. But we will be doing our next show on the 31st, the last day of August. Woo.
I
And
thought
then
we said
school starts.
did you want to try Eileen Warnes?
Yeah, we can do that.
So let's play an Eileen Warnes on the 31st.
All righty. Yeah, because we need to do a few females.
Yeah, we haven't done, well, we did Amelia Dreyer, but
Yeah.
then we can get into some of the men again because there's a lot more of them.
Yeah. I wonder what the statistics are between men and I'll have to look that up. Between men and female serial killers.
Well, you have to remember also, and this is nothing against men. We have them on our show. We love that they tune in. Nothing like that. It is a actual fact of testosterone and different levels of hormones in the body and whatnot that sometimes they just get more unbalanced. And I think that's why you have more men that do it, because of the sexual drive of it, than women. They're not all sexual, but most are. It's probably 80% of it sexually driven. But yeah, we should look up some statistics on that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I'd like to know what the statistics are between men and women,
I agree.
Women, I feel like sometimes women don't get the let's sort of say recognition that they, they're not as known as men are,
Right.
You hear about more of the men in the news rather than the female, but they do. I
Right.
remember that TV show 48 Hours and stuff. They had women on there.
Yeah, they have shows still like Deadliest Women that
Yeah.
are on ID channel and stuff.
Yeah, I don't have cable anymore, so fun.
I
Anyways,
just pay to stream it. Like $3 a month.
right. So, but you guys have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. And oh, hi Mort. A little late. We're
Sorry,
cutting it short today because we had some personal things we gotta attend to before it gets dark. So, but yeah, find us again on August 31st, same time, 7 p.m. You guys have a good night. Have a good weekend.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye.